Hi everyone, welcome to Wendy's Art. Today I'm working on a mixed media piece. It's a new project and I actually started it last night and forgot to video, so I just want to show you what I've done and then I'll try and remember to video it going forward. So I'll show you where we're up to. So here I have collaged on my favourite gel print to date. It's really pretty, beautiful blues, some soft flowers. I just wanted to get that as a whole onto a mixed media piece. I've also collaged on some acrylic skins that I made. I literally just put some paint down onto a surface, covered it with some gloss gel, soft gloss gel, and left them to dry, and got some beautiful colours. They were done with the Pebeo iridescent colours. Actually, sorry, no they weren't. They were done with Lumiere iridescent colours. So they're quite pretty, and so I cut this one here into gum leaf shapes, and this one I just like the shape with the little triangle clear there. So I've just attached that as it was. Over here I just had a little bit of leftover paper and just thought I'd put a nice thin strip down there. I've also done some textured stencils using texture paste. So I basically just put the stencil down, just put the texture paste over the top, and I've got some nice raised texture in this piece. Some spots down here, and here, over here, and then some pebble shapes down the bottom, which I've just put a very watery wash of sepia and a bit of quinacridone nickel azo gold. I've done a bit of spatter in the nickel azo gold, and also at the top you can see the sort of sun shape. And I've just put a wash of watered down nickel azo gold over that as well. So that's where we're up to. I think I'm planning to add some splendid Fairy-Wrens on this piece. So I'll continue just to work on the background, just getting some interest and colour on that. And then at the end I'll paint on some, I've got a photo of a little pair, a female and male splendid Fairy-Wren. So I think that will work beautifully with these colours. So to be continued. Okay, so I've done it again. Forgotten to turn the video on, but okay, so from the last time I videoed, I've traced on these two birds of mine, splendid Fairy-Wren, so I've got them in position so I can see what I need to work around. I've done a bit more stenciling, so I've added some flowers. I just need to let them dry so I can put a few more just dotted around here. I've also done a stencil over here with flowers using some different colours, and then I reversed that over here to get the sort of like a ghost print of that stencil. So there was some paint left on top of the stencil, so I've just put that over backwards to put that on there just to give the hint of the stencil there. So my next steps will be to do a little bit more stenciling, but I think I'll just let this lot dry first. So I've got a bit of yellow oxide here that I didn't use for the flowers as of yet. So instead of it drying out, I'm just going to try and just take this across here just to put a bit of texture on this one. Don't want to waste the paint, so just going in the direction of that stencil there. Planning to go over this with a bit of gold. but that will just give it a bit more texture. Actually, I might just add a little bit more of that. Gives that stencil a little bit of depth with all that texture there. Now I'm just going to add a bit of golden Titan green pale just on this raised texture here, just with a palette knife. Too thick there, so I'll just dab that up. A little bit more for the one up here. Just a nice pale colour, hint of green there. It blends in nicely with this stencil here, gel print, sorry. Okay, so I've mixed up a green here using most of the colours out of this gel print. So I've used manganese blue, transparent yellow iron oxide, and some white, and then I wanted to brighten it up a little bit more, so I added some Indian yellow hue, all in golden open colours. So I just wanted to stencil some leaves up the top here. Actually, that's a good little bunch of them there. Okay, so I'm just adding a few more flowers now that the others have dried. So I thought I'd do a nice bright yellow one, using some Ara yellow metallic paint. Just continuing on with the flowers, I've moved to the flowering gum now. I'm just using a little stencil brush, just gives a bit of a rougher texture. And now just filling in some colour on some of those flowers that I stenciled in. Just doing some lighter tones on the petals there. Adding some yellow to that one just for a bit of contrast. Putting some detail on the inner part of the flower. So now I am just doing the other bits of the flowering gum just below the red petals. Just with a fairly neutral green, sort of an olive green. Just blocking in the colour for that. Okay, so I keep forgetting to put the video on, but what I have just done is I've put a yellow watery wash in this area here, and then just spritzed it with a bit of alcohol and dropped a few drops of dandelion yellow alcohol ink and just let that run a bit. And then I like the look of that, so then I thought over here where the foliage is under the birds, I've added some metallic sprays in there. So there's a bit of copper acrylic ink, and then I have some gold pigment that I've actually put in a sprayer with water, and I've just given that a spritz with that as well and let it run. So there's a few drops running right down, but most of it I just wanted around this area here under the birds. So I've finished filling in, actually no I haven't, I've missed a bit of this flower, so I've nearly finished filling in these flowers. Probably add another 2 flowers over here. Now that this is dry I can probably do that. And then I'll go from there. Okay, so I let everything dry, and then I wanted to try and do something to unify the colour, because there were lots of colours and shapes and objects going on here. So I decided to take the blue out of the gel print, which is a manganese blue, and I made up a glaze using Atelier glazing liquid gloss. Made up a blue glaze, and what I did was I painted that over the whole area, except for the sun at the top right, and the gel print. I didn't put any more blue on that, it's got enough blue as it is. And then I just dabbed at it with paper towel, because I didn't want the blue to be solid. So instead I've got a nice mottly blue, which I think looks really nice and unifies the whole painting, because it just brings it together with a similar background. I might wait till this dries and I could possibly go over the background with a glaze of some green, but at this stage I'm liking how it's looking, and I'll let that dry. I think that's probably all I'll do for today. Let that dry overnight, and then I want to go in and paint these wrens. So I've turned what's underneath them into a bird's nest using copper and gold spray and acrylic ink, pigment spray and acrylic ink. So I'm really happy with how that looks, really nice and abstract with that bit of texture going on there. And these 2 birds, male on the right, female on the left, looks like she's having a go at the male. That's why I picked it actually. I thought that was really cute. Yeah, so I'll paint them in probably next, and then decide what to do from there. This has been a painting that I didn't really have a plan for, other than knowing that I wanted to place this gel print on it as a collage. I absolutely love this gel print, and it was the inspiration for the whole painting. So I wanted a bit of a spring theme, hence the flowers and the golden sun, which I will add some gold to towards the end. And a few pebbles and stones for texture, which I'll probably add a bit more colour to just give that a bit more depth. But really happy with how it's going. I'm loving all the textures and all the colours. Happy with the flowering gum section up the top. So I'll be back next painting in these birds. That will be my next objective. Okay, so I've decided to go over the flowers with a bit of white gesso, just with the stencil brush, just to knock them back a bit. I just felt there was just a bit too much colour there, and I wanted the main colours to be the blues and the greens, so just trying to find the right right petal shape for the stencil, but yeah, knocking them back a bit with just a touch of white gesso over the top of them. Now I'm just adding some sepia to those pebble shapes just to give it a bit of depth. Using the paper towel just to knock back bits that I don't want. Just wanted a touch of dark. But it definitely brought them up, and that darkness, the contrast definitely made a difference. Okay, here I'm just adding some gold highlights to the sun at the top, the stenciled sun at the top, and now starting on the little superb Fairy-Wrens, beautiful little Australian bird. They have just a touch of blue. The male has just a touch of blue, so this is the male, smaller than the female, but I'm just basically blocking in the colours for the bird at this point with acrylics. Using a fine brush, fairly fine. I think that's a 5-0, and then I later switched to a 10-0 for the really finer feather details. But yeah, just working and getting in the darks now. He's very dark under the face there. Just a few whitey grey highlights, but mostly quite black in that area. So this is the first layer for the bird, just to block in the colours and get the colours in the right places. Right, moving down to the greyer areas, a bit more light coming in there. Locking in the feet, getting up to the tail. Make sure you do the feathers in the right direction. Use your reference photo and make sure all the strokes are in the direction of the feathers. Okay. All right, moving on to the female now. I tend to do the eye first. I like to get the eye in. It sort of sets me off for the rest of the bird. The female has a fair bit of orange on her around her eye and her beak, and then sort of taupey neutral colours for the rest. No blue on the female. So again, just blocking in the colours, getting everything in the right place. Okay, I've moved on to using some Faber-Castell Pitt artist pens just to do some of the twigs and branches under the Fairy-Wrens. I find them quite good because you can sort of put the colour on and then sort of dab with your finger to knock it back a bit. You can spread the colour with your fingers. I really quite like them. The white's excellent for highlights. You can have it bright white, or you can, I guess I said, rub it back and just have a light translucent sort of colour. Okay, so back to the Fairy-Wrens again, back to the male. Now I'm using the finer brush to put on some details, highlights, just refining the shape and the colour. Putting in some of the shadows there helps to define the feathers a bit more. Filling in that black area, getting that a bit more dark. That's the grey area that's highlighted by the sun. Okay, moving up to the tail. Again, just refining, trying to get the colours and the shapes. Moving down to the bottom section of the bird. Putting in the greys, the whites, I've added a bit of Naples yellow to get those yellowish sorts of tones down there. Doing some details on the feet, on the toes. Very fine, those little toes, the little nails. So you need a really fine brush to try and get that right. Okay, just using the Faber-Castell Pitt artist pen to put a few highlights on the top there. And back to the female. Redoing that eye, highlight on the male. Okay, so just working and refining her and getting a bit more detail going there. Okay, you can see sort of the suggestions of feathers, so trying to move in the right direction, trying to follow closely that reference photo. Trying to get some darks and some lights and some definition of those feather shapes. Working on the mouth. Back to the head again. Getting some lights up there. Yeah, you find you're just sort of going backwards and forwards, just refining a bit more light, a bit more dark. Mid-tones there, it's just now getting those refinements in and trying to get everything going in the right direction and getting the highlights in the right place. Okay, back to the feet quickly. Trying to highlight those different little toe shapes using lights and darks. Okay, so that's it. That's the final picture. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. Any questions, just ask them in the comments below. And hope you enjoyed that journey with my mixed media. Thanks for joining Wendy's Art. Please subscribe and like if you did. Thank you. Bye.